There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit ComicShopLocator.com to find a store near you.
What's up, the internet? It's me, it's Kyle. How's it going? Welcome into In Stores this week. I am joined, as always, by the host of one of our newest shows here on The Experience, the Dan Wickline Show. This guy who claims to be Dan Wickline.
Hey, I have never claimed to be Dan Wickline. I don't even say that during the show. I always claim to be someone else.
That's fair.
Yep. Today I said I was Meatloaf, and I wouldn't be doing that.
Rest in peace, Jim Stegman. Or Jim Steinman, yeah.
Yep.
Who wrote all of those songs for The Loaf.
Yes, he did.
I was supposed to meet Meatloaf at Motor City Comic Con. They had brought in a bunch of people from Rocky Horror, and he was one of them.
Okay.
But just before that was scheduled to happen, he had the accident that has stopped him from performing, where he fell off the stage and got all messed up. So I didn't get to meet Meatloaf. My vinyl copy of Bat Out of Hell remains unsigned, but I will correct that as quickly as humanly possible. So
You have to appreciate that he's clung to that name all those years.
Well, what's really interesting is that he doesn't consider himself a singer. He's an actor who just so happens to have put out records. It's one of those that he got into the industry to act in musical theater and that kind of stuff, and he just has the voice he has, and it blessed him with the ability to put out records and, take advantage, of that situation. So I just love that he doesn't identify as a singer.
I think that means the pairing with Steinman was perfect, because Steinman writes all these big rock operas, and none of his stuff is just a pop song. They're these stories. Right. So Meatloaf is just acting them out.
Yep. So it's why he played himself in the movie of his life.
Makes sense.
So, speaking of the movie of their life, let's talk about some comic book characters. I couldn't get there. Normally I try and come up with a good segue, and it just wasn't in me today.
Yeah. Wow. All right. I almost feel like we should start over. Let you try that segue again.
Well, no, I figured it out. Here are some, we'll start with a couple of stories that are off my list and not off yours, that are about real people, or quote unquote about real people. Okay. So we have, and we mentioned it last week at the end of the show, Betty Page and Apocaquaddle's Ring.
Apocaquaddle's Ring.
Apocaquaddle's Ring.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a new series in the Betty Page pantheon from Dynamite.
Steve Mooney.
This is Stephen Mooney with Georgia Sposito on art. The cover and the variant. There's a cover and a variant by Greg Hildebrandt. You can see it's got that Hildebrandt Brothers style.
That's a hell of a cover.
And there's also a Merritt Michaels variant.
Marat Michaels?
Couple. Yeah. Mm-hmm. See, I always heard it Merritt.
Marat's an old buddy of mine.
Merritt. Okay, Marat. Yeah. I'll go with Marat.
It's Marat.
Sounds fancier anyway.
It's Marat.
Okay. I'm good with that.
Okay.
Head can't accept it. There's also a it comes in a black bag variant, just in case you're wondering.
Ooh.
Of this book. So this is, are you starts off in the solicitation this way. So are you new to Betty's adventures? So this is the story that Betty Page, on top of being a model and modern day sex symbol, was also a spy. So think Mata Hari, think any woman from any James Bond film. That's Betty. And in this tale, she joins an archaeologist to discover the ancient secret that could hold the spell of doom for the world. It's one part Indiana Jones, one part Emma Peel, and 100% Betty Page. So Emma Peel, for those of you who don't know, is from the British show The Avengers, not the ones with the, but Steed and Peel were the comic books that came out about them.
Yep.
She was a female spy, so.
And they made they had a remake movie of it a couple decades ago with Ray Fiennes, Uma Thurman, and Sean Connery as the bad guy.
Mm-hmm. Excuse me. Yeah. So I part of me on this one is it's the Hildebrandt cover, right? But also it's Mooney.
Yep.
Steve Mooney is wonderful, great writer. I'm a big fan. I loved his Half Past Danger story that he did. So it's also that, and then we did air an interview with him and Joe Rybant from Dynamite talking about his work. And so, this is a book I've been excited for since then, and I'm very excited to get a chance to read it tomorrow.
Yep, I'm going to be looking for that. That's a great cover, and I like the Betty Page stories. They do a good job with those.
Yeah, the Marat Michaels cover is her on an inflatable duck, which is also a lot of fun. And, I just noticed this. There is a Stephen Mooney variant that is a play on his Half Past Danger covers.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. So another book that's quote-unquote about someone who was real is, I have to find the right here. Minky Woodcock, the girl who electrified Tesla. I read issue number 1 of this, and I really liked it. The Tesla, Nikola Tesla story is a great one, especially the whole falling in love and marrying a pigeon. Nikola Tesla went crazy after Thomas Edison stole his work, essentially. But this is a hard crime series, right? Yeah. So all of the Titan hard crime stuff, especially the Minky Woodcock stuff, has been really solid. It's got that crime noir feel.
Oh, yeah.
You imagine everybody in the book talking like this. She walked into my office and she said her name was Minky. I don't know why she said that. Certainly not a real human name, but she certainly had nice legs. It's like you imagine having those voices.
Everybody has a lisp?
Well, no, I can only do that voice for so long before I have to swallow this, It's a voice I have to work on and get better at.
I have not had a chance to read the Hard Case Crime comics, but I have read some of the novels, and I know their process for picking the novels. All the ones I've read have been great, including Stephen King did one with them, The Colorado Kid. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which turned into a TV series under a completely different name. Now I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, these are great. And so I haven't had a chance to pick up the comics yet, but I definitely will now.
Yeah, it's written and drawn by Cynthia Von Bueller. And I just in case you need a little bit extra push. Thank you. Private investigator Minky Woodcock becomes involved in an investigation of maverick genius and reclusive pigeon fancier Nikola Tesla. Like right in the solicitation, they talk about him with the pigeon. And discovers a horrifying conspiracy involving corrupt politicians and Nazis. Because what would a crime noir set in this era be without corruption and Nazis?
And pigeon love.
Yeah, well, hey. I'm not here to shame anybody. If Thomas Edison had stolen my life's work and left me broke and penniless, I'm not sure I would fare any better.
Fair enough.
For those of you who don't know, look up Thomas Edison and an elephant called Flopsy. Do you not know this story, Dan?
I don't. Please, Elucidate.
So Thomas Edison, in the interest of discrediting Nikola Tesla's alternating current theory, set up an experiment to prove that it was dangerous, in which Edison had bought a circus elephant and electrocuted it to death in front of a bunch of people.
Was he named Flopsy?
There's a great episode about Bob's Burgers about it.
Was he named Flopsy before he got electrocuted?
Yes.
Okay. Because I thought maybe...
Or it might have been Topsy. Flopsy or Topsy. But yeah, Thomas Edison totally killed a circus elephant in order to discredit Nikola Tesla, only for it to come out years later, after electricity was everywhere and Edison was dead, that Edison had rigged the experiment and that it wasn't conducted properly, because Thomas Edison never actually did any work on his own. He just stole other people's. Look up the people who actually invented the light bulb. So these are things I know that no one else cares about, but they're in my brain, so I might as well get them out.
So he's the equivalent of Bob Kane?
R.I.P. Bill Finger, yes.
And Dick Sprang?
Yeah. I have a great fanzine that was published about Dick Sprang and the creation of the Riddler.
Really?
It was from it's from the 1950s. No, 1960s. I picked it up in a collection, and it's great. It's all about how Dick Sprang is a genius and everybody else is terrible.
I'd like to see that, or at least get a gist of it. I'm currently on my YouTube channel. One of my biggest videos is Psychology of Villainy, where I break down Lex Luthor and his narcissism. And I'm currently working on the second video in the series, which is about the Riddler and how he, I put him as OCPD with comorbidity of borderline personality disorder and manic behavior.
Yeah. This is more about how everybody just screwed Dick Sprang. And it's signed to Mike from Dick Sprang. Like, it's autographed and everything.
Cool.
But it's that. Thomas Edison was a thief. Nikola Tesla was a genius. And anybody who tells you otherwise is wrong.
Or related to Edison.
Even then, still wrong.
But they know they're wrong, and they're
just wrong in the familial sense.
Yeah.
So, where do we want to go next? Do we want to go to Marvel or DC or one of the others?
I think because DC's been in the news a lot, let's save them till the end.
Okay. So then let's start with... can I do a Speaking of Elephants?
Sure.
Speaking of elephants, there is a trade out from Scout Comics this week called Sengi and Tembo. You may not have heard of it because it was one of their series, and they have a name for it that is escaping me right now, but where the first issue comes out and then it goes straight to trade.
That's a weird policy.
They don't do it with every book, but there are certain books that they feel like are going to live better in trade form. And rather than just releasing a straight trade, what they do is they put out a single issue almost as a sampler or an ashcan style, but it's a full issue.
Yeah.
And then release the trade.
Well, I know nothing about the book, but that cover is amazing. Right.
So written and drawn by Giuseppe Falco. The African savanna, a windswept expanse of tall grass and few, all too rare trees, overwhelming heat, and more than a few hungry predators. Sengi, the little mouse, finds himself alone after the death of his mother and must learn to survive. Tembo, the old elephant, feels that his life is coming to an end. So he decides to leave his herd and reach the land without beginning, a mythical place accessible by a secret passage to the west. These two disparate lives, that of the pragmatic mouse and the even-tempered elephant, will collide and join paths.
I'm trying not to make a Rock Me Amadeus joke.
Can you name Falco's other hit song?
Der Kommissar? No, that's
Yes. Nope, that's them.
Yeah.
It was Amadeus and Der Kommissar. Don't turn around. Oh.
Mm-hmm. The Commissar's in town. Oh. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Thought you
Falco
got me.
had two U.S. hits. I'm not shocked that you knew that, Dan. That seems like something that would be up your alley to know Der Kommissar. But, you know, I always like cracking that out when somebody references Amadeus.
Fair enough.
Amadeus. Okay. All right. Sorry. I have now it's playing in my head, and I'm just gonna have to get through this by talking about La Fantastic Four,
Life Story.
The 60s.
Yes. This is kind of a follow-up to Spider-Man Life Story. And it's Mark Russell, Sean Izaakse. And it's a celebration of the FF's 60th anniversary. This kind of a fabulous foursome through their whole life in real time across the years, amid the backdrop of the Cold War and the space race and the terrible accident that gave them the Fantastic Four their great powers. And a terrible secret entangles them in the history of their planet, you know? So it's kind of a new bent on the story we know.
Yeah, I think it's Sean Isaacs, by the way. I think the E is silent. Yeah, I like the taking the Fantastic Four back to the Cold War nuclear era.
Yeah.
You know, of the late 60s.
Yeah, I think the Fantastic Four works the best in the 60s. I still think that if Marvel's going to do a Fantastic Four movie, it should be set in the 60s and then they get trapped in the negative zone and come out today.
Yeah, I get behind that. I think that's a strong choice. I think this cover, this is the A cover we're looking at. Mm-hmm. That is a Daniel Acuna cover. Is a strong representation of kind of what the X-Men looked like back then. Or not the X-Men, the Fantastic Four. Yeah. Why did I say X-Men, Dan?
They started the same era.
No, that ain't it. I think my brain just hiccuped.
I was trying to cover for you.
Yeah, Fantastic Four looked like in that era. There are some other really cool. There's a Marcos Martin variant that it has a very like pop art 1960s, advertising art feel that I really like.
A la Mad Men.
It kind of has a Mad Men vibe. But just all of that kind of that era, right there it is.
It kind of feels like Darwin Cook.
It does have a very strong Darwin Cook influence, which is probably the other reason I'm drawn to it, is I love Darwin.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, this is one that I will check out. This is one that, I was telling Dan earlier, it's a weird week for me. I don't have a ton on my list, but that isn't Marvel or DC, and it's almost never Marvel or DC on my list.
Who's the bald guy?
Wouldn't you love for that to be Dr. Doom before he became Dr. Doom? I have no idea.
Or the Puppet Master?
Yeah, there's no hint in the solicitation.
Yeah, because there's only supposed to be the Fantastic Four, and then we got a bald guy with glasses.
Mm-hmm.
It's Blofeld. It's a crossover with James Bond.
I'd be there for it. No, I think it's probably, because you kind of, in that A cover, you bring that back up there, you're kind of seeing, what Ben and Reed and Sue look like, you know, at this era. Ben before he becomes a thing, Reed in a suit, Sue looking like Sue.
Yeah.
And maybe that's like the baddie, like Dr. Doom or somebody, before he becomes Dr. Doom, what he looked like in this era.
Yeah. Well, if they're doing the original origin story, should their first villain be the Mole Man? And it's a old guy with glasses. It could be the Mole Man.
The Mole Man. I like Mole Man.
Collectively, Mole Man? There's more than one?
Well, when they appear in Marvel Comics, like whenever the Mole Man appears,
the Mole Man.
It's always a good story, yeah.
Okay.
You know, it's I refer to the Mole Man the same way I refer to like the Jersey Devil, and here in Ohio we have the Mothman.
Right.
With the way the stories work, it can't be just one, so you got to just assume there's a bunch, and now you have to refer to them plurally.
What would you refer to plurally for a Bigfoot?
A basketball team. No, I'm kidding. Bigfoots. There's actually a term for it, but I can't remember what it is.
Sasquatches?
No, there's actually a term for like what a pack of Sasquatch would be, and I forget what it is. But I know that a group of Yetis is a snow cone.
I want the word gaggle. A gaggle of Sasquatches just sounds great to me.
Headcanon accepted. But a gaggle of Yetis are called a snow cone. The Abominable Snowman, a.k.a. the Black Knight. That was the worst transition I've ever done. I'll see myself out.
I've got the first two issues sitting right here. And I got to tell you, I am loving and hating this series at the same time. I'm loving it. Well, Simon Spurrier made a choice to make Dane Whitman kind of a loser in the beginning of this book. And as a big-time fan of the Black Knight, that doesn't sit very well with me, and how he's being kind of joked at by the Avengers. But after that, it becomes an awesome story where it ties into the Ebony Blade and back into Days of King Arthur and Merlin and Mordred, of course, because it's always Mordred. So we got a third issue. The artwork on it has been absolutely fantastic, Sergio Davila. But here we get the mighty Thor versus the Black Knight. Dane Whitman wields the magical ebony blade as the Black Knight. He needs Elsa Bloodstone's help if he's going to stop an enemy's murderous hunt for the ebony artifacts.
And it's, by the way, it's All-Father Thor, not just regular old Thor. It's All-Father Thor. So.
Okay. And the ebony artifacts are basically, Merlin made more than one object that day. He made, and Sir Percy had a choice of weapons, and he chose the ebony blade. But there were other things like an ebony chalice. Well, that's what the guy's hunting for. It says, but the ebony chalice lies beyond the world in a wasteland of dangerous fantasies and predatory magic. Their battle in the present will reveal dangerous secrets of the past, and the mighty, you want to say Thor for me?
Thor!
Duels the first Black Knight at Camelot. The chalice's power, like the ebony blades, comes with a terrible cost. Is Dane willing to pay it?
So, for those of you who don't know what the voice I'm doing is, when the original Thor came out, Chris Hemsworth went on Conan. And Conan just took the trailer for the movie and replaced it with the words, "I'm Thor!" everywhere. To troll Chris Hemsworth at the request of Paul Rudd and Chris Evans, who knew they would be working with Chris Hemsworth on this and are friends with Conan. So there's this really awkward clip of Chris Hemsworth not knowing what the hell to do. And so I refuse to let it go because it is everything, and it might be the best thing to come out of that first movie. So,
nice.
Yeah, I also on this one, I like the fact that they're leaning into that Arthurian legend heavily.
Yeah.
The ebony chalice is in a French castle somewhere, guarded by, guarded by Frenchmen who will call you pig dogs, and fart in your general direction.
Your mother smells of hamsters, and your father
your father stunk of hamsters, and your mother smells of elderberries. Yes.
Yes, I told him we already have one.
Mm-hmm. Right. I like that they're leaning into the real Arthurian legend, which is a fun place to take a story. And Cy Spurrier is such a great writer that he can tell Arthurian stories and make it not feel weird.
Absolutely. And had he not tried to make Dane look like a complete idiot in the beginning, I'd be all for it. But once he got past that, I'm good.
I'll be honest. I'm okay with him making Dane look like an idiot in the beginning, so long as at the end he looks like a boss. Yeah,
and I think with the fact that he's going to be in the movies coming up, I think that's probably a mandate. Yeah,
right. So before we started the experience, we were working on some shows that eventually wound up on the cutting room floor. They may come back, but they're there for now. And one of them was Level Up, which is what I called it. And it was just basically shows with lists. And Dane was number 1 on the Avengers You Forgot Were Avengers list. The problem with that is that now no one has forgot he was an Avenger. No one has forgotten about Dane.
Yeah.
Anymore. He's so relevant that I'd have to recut the whole episode now. But it was one of those, he was with the Avengers for so long, most people forget he was on the team. Or he wasn't with them very long, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So it it's an interesting kind of look.
But when he was an Avenger, he was in this 3-way love triangle with Crystal, a princess of the Inhuman royal family, and Cersei, an Eternal. That's badass.
Yeah, he scores pretty well. I mean, let's be real. He's got some game as it relates to the ladies. All right. We have about 2 minutes left until break, so we'll do.
He knows how to show him a good night.
Okay. We have 2 more DC book or 2 more Marvel books. We'll do one more here before we go to break, and then we'll hit the last one after. Sound good?
Thought we had 3 more.
I only have 2 more.
Shangshi, Immortal Hulk, Time of Monsters, and the Brother Voodoo Volume 1 Masterworks.
Oh, yeah, I don't have an image for the Brother Voodoo. It's not.
All right.
Cover art not available. So we'll do 2 after the. Well, now we've talked up through our 2 minutes. So we'll take a break. We'll come back with the last 3 DC books right after these messages, where Dan and I maybe at some point get it on the rails.
There are rails?
I'm told.
Oh, wow.
I've never seen them. Here we go. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to In Stores This Week. I am Kyle. As always, I am joined by Dan, who I will bring on in just a minute. After I remind you to head over to Instagram. Follow us. Do it. At @the_EXP1 on Instagram. We're posting every day about our lineup, about what's happening on shows. We're posting behind-the-scenes pictures. We're sharing our TikToks with you. Dan and I have both been on TikTok this weekend. For the experience. So make sure you head over and do that. Dan, what was your being on TikTok experience like?
Well, it was the first time for me. I was a TikTok virgin, and it didn't seem much different than recording these shows, I got to tell you.
No, it's basically just shouting into the void.
Yeah, pretty much. Been doing that my whole life.
Yeah, you said your favorite character was the Daredevil, which is a good answer. Yeah. I said that I had to give my top two, which included, Thanos, Kingpin, Dormammu, Uatu the Watcher.
That's your top two?
There were about 6 of them there, because I really couldn't pick. But they were all villains, turns out, afterwards, which is a thing for me, I guess. So
yeah,
head over.
I thought it was kind of appropriate that my favorite was Daredevil and one of your favorites was Kingpin.
Yeah, I like Kingpin. I actually like the Kingpin family. So both Wilson and Richard Fisk.
Yep.
I like Kingpin. I like the Schemer. But I felt like as the producer, I couldn't pick a hero. I had to pick a bad guy.
Makes sense.
Yeah. But did you see that you stole Nancy McCann's favorite character?
No, I didn't.
She also was going to pick Daredevil, but she had to go to her second favorite character because you had done Daredevil. And she said you did a better job of explaining it than she would have. So... like I said, head over to our Instagram.
I'm a researcher. I look up everything, and I want to have, knowledge. I think we're going to do DC next, and I've already started looking up my guy for DC.
I think we are going to do DC next, but we haven't outlaid that plan yet. But Jenna and I will talk about it very, very soon. So if you head over to TikTok and you put in... Come on. At the @EX_EXP1. You'll come up, and there we all are. Jen, Dan, me, Nancy, Cheryl, and Teddy from Space Cadets. By the way, if you're out there watching this, Teddy's a star. Okay? I'm just throwing this out there. I know we're on at Space Cadets probably. Teddy's a star.
Hey, Teddy.
So, all right, let's get back to the Marvel of it all.
All righty. Where do you want to go?
Well, why don't we start with the trade that they apparently couldn't bother to upload cover artwork for? Brother Voodoo.
Yeah, I couldn't pass up highlighting the fact that Brother Frickin' Voodoo is getting a Marvel Masterworks. This is stuff starting from 1973, Len Wein and Gene Colan, which right there, I mean, Gene Colan's art, geez, his 70s work is amazing. And, this is a character that started off in Strange Tales and just kind of blossomed, eventually got his own series. If you're not familiar with the character, his name is Jericho Drum. His brother Daniel sacrifices himself and becomes kind of the guiding spirit for him. And he becomes like the voodoo chieftain, almost like Doctor Strange. And at one point he actually takes over as Sorcerer Supreme, I believe. But this book collects Strange Tales 169 to 173, Marvel Team Up number 24, Werewolf by Night 39 through 41, Marvel 2-in-1 number 41, Doctor Strange 48, Moon Knight 21, plus material from Tales of the Zombies 6 and 10, Tomb of Dracula 34 through 37, Werewolf by Night number 38, Marvel Superheroes number 1 from 1990, and Doctor Strange Sorcerer Supreme from 1988, 16 through 17 and 20, all in one big book.
This book is going to be like this thick.
Yep. And if you're thinking, well, who cares about Brother Voodoo? Keep in mind, if you watch Doctor Strange, when he first goes to the New York Sanctum, and that's Daniel Drum protecting the New York Sanctum, and it gets killed. So the word is there will be Brother Voodoo, or Dr. Voodoo, as they call him now in the comics, will be coming to the MCU. I'm hoping he's Brother Voodoo. That's how I know.
Yeah, I am as well. I think the thing that you can tell by the fact that they're putting out a masterworks of him is that he is. I think this is pretty well their way of saying, hey, you need to read all this source material.
Pay attention. This guy's coming.
Yep, absolutely. So I think if you miss out on that, you're missing out on an opportunity to know what's coming before it comes.
Yeah, and all those different titles. I mean, you're pulling from different books: Doctor Strange, Moon Knight, Tomb of Dracula. I mean, just to pull all that together, you don't get that in a single book.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. So, we'll go here. We'll go to the next movie up. Shangshi.
Yes, Shangshi. Number 1, we got Glenn Liang Yang and Dyke Ron, and it's basically Shang-Chi versus the Marvel Universe. It's Shang and his family are back, and this time they're colliding head-to-head with Marvel Universe's biggest heroes. Shang-Chi has finally taken his place as the leader of the Five Weapons Society, but using an evil secret organization as a force of good won't be that easy. And it's about to get a lot harder when Shang-Chi's fellow superheroes, like Spider-Man in the first issue, start to see him as a bad guy. So if you're looking forward to the movie coming up in September, this is a good jumping on point, get a little familiarity with the character. It's going to be a little different than the movie. They are changing some stuff, but this is a good place to kind of get your feet wet and learn about Shang-Chi and his abilities and what makes him this great character that's been around since the 70s.
And, Gene Yang just won a bunch of awards last season for his work. And I can't even think of the name of the book now. But he just won a ton of awards, including an Eisner, for his work in the last season. But you also have covers by Linnell Francis Yu, J. Scott Campbell, Michael Cho, Stephanie Rich.
Really good covers.
Yeah, I mean, tons of great covers on this book. So it's definitely one to check out. And Spider-Man appears, so
yeah, Plus the cover we see right here. I mean, you got some beaten up, pretty good Avengers there.
Yeah,
and just one guy standing over him.
Absolutely.
Now, do we know if this is a miniseries or an ongoing? I didn't see it listed in the solicitation.
Let me look here. There are at least 3 issues coming out. So it's probably I would guess it's a short run leading up to the movies.
Okay. Very cool.
So, all right, next thing on the list here. Our last Marvel book is the one-shot, The Incredible Hulk Time of Monsters.
Yep. Al Ewing and Alex Packnadel. And they're introducing the original Hulk. 10,000 years ago, something green and glowing comes to poison the ancient ground of the Fertile Crescent.
It's and the second Hulk. It's the Hulk that's after Savage Hulk.
But they're saying it's the first Hulk.
Yeah, no. Alex Packnadel says it's the Hulk that comes right after Savage Hulk.
Okay.
So Savage Hulk is Hulk, Cro-Magnon Hulk. This is whatever was after that. Still caveman, but less caveman.
Right. And he's come to poison the ancient ground of the Fertile Crescent and the hearts of its people. One boy is left to bear the consequences for the first time, to open the green door.
Bum, bum, bum.
Plus, Bruce Banner faces a challenge unlike any he's seen before, as writer David Vaughn makes his debut as a backup story. I believe they're saying this is prehistoric Hulk. This is the first Hulk, or before Savage Hulk, according to Kyle.
Well, it's after Savage Hulk, which is like first Hulk, 10 bajillion years ago. And then there's Second Hulk, which is this one, and then everybody else after. But I will say this, that Alex was incredibly vague about the order in which the Hulks appear. He was trying to tell Miss Jen without spoiling anything, but it was certainly this is Hulk before, yeah, but that Savage Hulk is first. So.
Well, good one shot. Hey, one shots are great because you get a pickup, you get a complete story in one. You got Al Ewing's writing, you got Packnadell's art, and you get it in one shot. You don't have to look for a second issue. You get the whole story. I love one shots.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and it's a three-story book. One by Al, one by Alex, one by David Vaughn. Each of them working with Kevin Nolan and Juan Ferreira. So yeah, it's a definite pickup. I'm very excited to have Hulk stories from when Hulk Smash was even a little more than he could say, because language didn't exist yet. Oh. So, another superhero book that I want to talk about real quick. Just because I think it's an important read this week. Archie and Friends Superheroes #1. Jughead's on the cover. It's the only reason I want to talk about it.
Is that their version of the Green Goblin sitting at the table?
I think so. The solicitation is goofy, but it's written by Ian Flynn with art by Jeff Schultz. And Tim Kennedy, and Pat Kennedy, actually. It's Get Ready for Superheroics featuring Archie and the gang, along with some very super appearances by classic Archie characters like Bob, Phantom, and Blackjack.
Okay.
But Jughead.
Why would Archie have a P on his chest?
I think the book he's holding is called Power Teen.
Oh. But wouldn't that be Betty as Power Teen?
No, because I think she has a B on her chest and Veronica has a V on her chest. Look, if we're going to get too into the Archie mythos here as to who could be a superhero and who couldn't, can we all just agree that it's none of them?
And they're at a Comic-Con. They're not even real heroes.
Right, they're at Riverdale Comic-Con, whose logo looks ironically like an actual Comic-Con. No, anyway, look, you don't often get, super fun original style Archies anymore. Everybody wants the Sabrina the Teenage Witch style or the Afterlife with Archie style Archies. Yeah. And it's good to have 4-color funny Archies, back doing superhero-y things. So that's all on that one. Like it was more or less a joke. It's a book that I have on my pull list only because when was the last time you got Archie that looked like that?
Good point.
So, where do you want to go next, Dan?
Why don't we hit some of the indies?
Okay. I will start from Dark Horse Comics. Red Room. This is Fantagraphics. I apologize. Red Room, which is Ed Piskor, with writing, drawing, inking, lettering, doing it all. There are Jim Rugg and Peach Momoko variants out there, but this is the book you're going to see. And there's no solicitation for this book. There's no information. All you know is that Ed Piskor has been talking about it on social media like crazy, and he says he pulls out all the stops, which implies that his work has ever had stops before. If you don't follow Ed Piskor's work, it's messed up. It is some of the darkest, most esoteric and strange comics ever created. Do you have any other words that you would use to describe Ed's work, Dan?
No, I think that's pretty good right there. I think you got it.
You know, you got a clown, a sort of satanic clown with a scythe on the cover. Like, this is what I'm getting at, is that, you know, if Ed has let go of all the stops, maybe have a bucket ready just in case.
Now we know why the room is red.
Yeah, Rivers of Gore.
Yeah.
Illegal acts of carnography and degradation live on webcam. See Murder on the Dark Web for fun and profit. This is like I said, if this is really Ed pulling out all of the inhibitions, we're all in for a trip.
Yeah. Plus, you got to look back at his old stuff going, and you were holding back?
Yeah, true. So, what's next? What else?
Well, since we're talking about people doing all things, all the things, we got 2 books on my list. Let's start with Rangers of the Divide by Megan Wong.
Yes, from the Dark Horse.
Yes. She is writing and illustrating this book. Following the disappearance of the nation's peacekeepers, an elite commander stumbles upon a team of bright-eyed cadets in need of leadership. This group prepares to venture out on their first mission into uncharted territories. Are they ready to face what awaits them? Or will danger find them first? I'm guessing danger is going to find them first, or we don't have much of a story. And this is her debut comic series. So Megan is doing doing everything on this book. And the artwork, it looks like it's a lot of fun, too. You know? Like it's something you might be able to... I didn't get to see an age rating, but you might want to pick it up, read it, and maybe something you want to show your kids.
Yeah, it doesn't... nothing has an age rating on it. A lot of times they'll tell you when it's a mature book or whatever. Right. I think this is probably... not necessarily... It's probably not a complete all ages, but it's a... no, I would say that for certain kids, it would certainly be in all ages, but maybe not for all kids. It's in all ages. It's the same way I used to put Loving Capes, or some of those, some of those Marvel, quote unquote all ages books that they did. It's not truly all ages, but it's more all ages than a lot of them. So.
Okay. And then if we're sticking with the solo people, let's go on to Sunstone, which is definitely not an all ages book.
No.
All right. If you haven't been following this, Stepan Sejic, Stepan. I asked Matt Hawkins how to pronounce his name. He goes, I call him Steve. Yeah, but this is the Mercy. This is the second part of the Mercy part of the story. What you need to understand about this series is Sejic does this in kind of his spare time, and he puts it all up on the web for free. Then, once it's done, he gives it to Top Cow, and they publish these trades. And so it only comes out in trades, and they are the best-selling books at Top Cow. So even though these books are available, you can see the art and stuff, the story, free online on his DeviantArt account. These books are still some of the best-selling books Top Cow has. And it's a balance of slice of life, romance, relationship with kinky aspects, the exploring, say, S&M and stuff like that. So it's, like I said, it's not for everybody. It is a very fun read. It's not too dramatic. It's not superheroes. It's not any of that stuff. It's not horror. It is a slice of life. It's couples and relationships and the different aspects and some of the kink that's involved as well. So this particular, like I said, this is the second part of the Mercy arc, which started with the 6th volume. It says the tale of kink and metal continue as Allie and Alan ride the roller coaster of sexual exploration. Meanwhile, Annie and Laura enjoy their little slice of heaven relationship. Good times all around. Sure would be a shame if addictive behavior and trust issues ruined it all the fun. I mean, that would be terrible. So this is a relationship thing. This is great for people who don't like tights and flights. You know, this is something different. This is a drama, and it has been consistently good since the very first volume.
Yeah, this is one of those books that I would likely have missed had Dan not brought it to my attention. I don't generally look at trade releases unless there's something I know is coming. So like Sunstone, or like another book that we'll talk about here in a minute, that is a trade-only release or a direct-to-trade release or one of those kind of things. So I've really been impressed with this work, and Stefan Sejic is a great creator. You know, his ability to work by himself, tell his stories the way he wants to tell them, really does come through and pay off in the best possible way.
And don't sleep on on Linda Sejic. His wife is also an incredible artist. I got to work with her on the Tales of Honor series, the adaptation of the Honor Harrington books. Well, the first one was an adaptation. The second one was an original story that Matt Hawkins and I wrote. And Linda's artwork on that book is absolutely fabulous. And you can see, it's interesting because you can see certain similarities between their work. But Linda is like if you took Stepan's work and drifted it more towards Disney, is where you get Linda.
Mm-hmm.
And both of them are great artists. And Stepan is also very fast, which is scary, is that he can crank out pages like nobody's business.
Yeah, I mean, I've been following his work for a long time, and it's, yeah, I don't really know what more I can say about how great Stefan is, and how great this story has been.
Yep.
So, another book that I kind of want to talk about, and it's not a solo, but we were talking about trade-only releases, is Only the Good Stay Dead. It's another Fantagraphics book. It's by Joe Queenan and Keith Bendis. But yesterday, Mel McDonald had become one of the most influential and respected members of the United States Senate. Today, he finds himself reincarnated as a moist heap of whale excrement, languishing on the floor of the Atlantic Ocean. Thus begins Joe Queenan's satirical fable of reincarnation, political ambition, man's folly, and the capricious nature of the universe, lusciously illustrated with his signature wry wit by award-winning cartoonist Keith Bendis.
Hang on a second. He gets reincarnated as whale poop?
Yep.
Doesn't being reincarnated tend to be into something alive?
No, I believe reincarnation is just a relation of what kind of person you were in real life. So if you were a poopy person, you may, in fact, come back as poop.
And if you come back as whale poop, means you were a real big poopy person.
Yeah. I would say that's true. Yeah,
I would like to have been in the meeting or in the phone call where Joe pitched the idea to Keith All right, so there's this guy, he dies and he comes back to life as whale poop. Excuse me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'd like to have picked up the call from there.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It's an interesting concept, but I like it. It's got kind of that to my mind, it's got kind of that absurdist look at today's reality going for it. It kind of fits with that like Reno 911 style sort of absurd look at what's happening in real life.
Okay.
But the thing about it really is it's Joe Queenan, who I'm a fan of.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm not doubting this is going to be good.
Right.
It's just an odd concept.
Right. And Keith Bendis, who I only know his illustrations from like political cartoons and like the New Yorker kind of stuff.
Yeah.
He's done some work, I believe, with David Sedaris. So it's kind of, I feel like this is kind of, if NPR did poop jokes, this is where it would wind up.
Oh, you should give them that as a quote for the cover. If NPR did,
glad to.
I like it.
Yes. If Mad Magazine took over the New Yorker, that kind of thing. So, Only the Good Stay Dead from Fantagraphics. It's a 40-page hardcover. It's $20. Check it out. I'm sure not every store will carry it, but ask them to order it if you're into that kind of crazy. So it's that time.
That time
where we have to take another break.
Oh, I thought it was like we ran to the bat poles or something, you know.
I wish. So we're going to take a break, but first we're going to remind you that tomorrow at 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific, Dan Wickline is back with the Dan Wickline Show. He'll have to come up with a topic to talk about.
Nope, I've got a topic.
But he's having some guests.
We're talking about this. The James Bond Lexicon, this giant frickin' book written by Alan Porter and Gillian Porter. They'll be on talking about it. This is a collective, this is everything you'd want to know about James Bond. It's like having the James Bond encyclopedia next to your desk in case you need it. So we're going to talk about the book, how it got made. We're going to talk about James Bond, the chance that Daniel Craig is leaving. Also what they think of the Dynamite books, stuff like that.
Joel Eden, if NPR did poop jokes, the comics content I come here for. It's true, man. We'll go to break, but first I want to tell you guys a joke, which is I'm worried about the calendar because its days are numbered. All right, we'll be back.
To be continued. 3 little words that hold the secret to the next great story. 3 words that will thrill you, confound you, give life to new possibilities. Every variation of To Be Continued is a promise of adventure, a promise of excitement, a promise of unseen wonders and unexplored worlds. A promise that every issue you read makes you a part of a never-ending journey, and behind every page there will be an unopened door waiting for you. This story to be continued at your local comic book shop today. Visit comicshoplocator.com today.
Welcome back to the internet. I'm Kyle. This is In Stores This Week. I am joined as always by Dan Wickline and the one viewer who stuck around after I made that terrible joke. So let's keep plugging along through the indies here, Dan.
All right.
Because we're gonna get to we decided to get to DC last, and so I wanted to bring up this book, which is Redshift from Scout Comics. It's HS Tack, who was on last night with Miss Jen on her Talking Shop show. The story is about time travel and how NASA actually is working on it. And they're not that far from it. And what happens when you play with time travel. The writer, HS Tack, actually consulted with people at JPL about how this would work. But it's while humanity grapples to survive on Mars, the Ministry of Exploration pins mankind's last hope of resurgence on an astronaut who's scared of space. In this space odyssey brew of Total Recall and Interstellar, Hellner and his team of explorers hunt for a new home while civil war threatens to obliterate the last bastion of human life. And it's, can you go back in time or can you go forward in time enough to solve the problem?
Interesting. My uncle used to work at JPL years ago. Worked on the Viking landing on Mars. He was one of the programmers on the landing of Mars.
Nice.
Now he's a roofer.
I knew a guy named Bobak who worked there for a minute too. I think he might still work there, but I only knew him for a minute. So he was
long enough. You
was an
remember
engineer. No, I couldn't remember exactly what he did. I think he was an engineer.
Every time I think of JPL now, I think of that Strange Angel TV series about that the guy that helped found it, but also helped find like a sex cult.
Yeah. If you're going to be an astronaut, you got to be a little crazy. So, all right. Redshift, check it out. It's from Scout Comics. I had a couple of other books that I wanted to quickly mention.
Go ahead.
Including Far Cry, Rite of Passage, Brian Edward Hall, and...
Had that on my list, too.
Yeah. Geraldo Borges. Far Cry video games, guys. If you're of a certain age, Far Cry was everything.
Yeah.
Dan, do you have the information right there in front of you?
Yeah.
I accidentally closed my note.
It's President Anton Castillo's only son, Diego, has turned 13. But this birthday is more than a celebration. It's a rite of passage. By telling his son about Vas Montenegro's inner struggles, Anton wishes to teach Diego the importance of harnessing the power of chaos. And this features fan-favorite villains from Far Cry 3, 4, and 5. So if you're a Far Cry fan, there you go, yeah. New number 1, Brian Edward Hill as a writer.
Joel asks, when is Redshift out? I don't see it on my list of comics for this week. So Scout has a weird release thing they do. It is technically out this week, but some stores have had it for a couple of weeks. Some Scout Direct stores have had it, and when you're a Scout Direct store, you can sell it early. But conversely, it may be next week for some stores as well, because they get their Scout books from Lunar, and it's just a different demon. So just be aware that could have been a couple weeks ago, could be this week, could be next. Yeah, but I like the Far Cry video games, and so that's part of why I wanted to bring this book up. It's a super fun story. Other indies. Yeah, definitely do that, Joel. It could be that they've had to move the release date around as well, but so it might not show up on every site as coming out this week. But that is the information from Scout itself, as technical release date is tomorrow.
And keep in mind that shipping lately hasn't exactly been a fine art all across the board. Mail services have been really hit or miss lately. So, just
and like I said, the other thing about it is that like the ash can came out for that book months ago. And then, with pandemic and all these other things adjusting print and distribution schedules, it's entirely possible it would have showed up on your list a different time, but now is when it's actually being released from Scout and the author and all of that. We only find them when they're dead, which is a book that I'm mentioning only because it's in that same vein of Boom Studios books, sort of like Something is Killing the Children and Berserker. This is a book that will be optioned. The secondary market is picking up huge steam on it, but the thing about it is if you haven't been reading it, you've been missing out in a big way. It is a super fun read. Basically, it's a monster book.
Interesting.
This is number 6. So this is the end of the first arc of We Only Find Them When They're Dead. 50 years have passed since Captain Malik and the crew of the Vihan 2 embarked on their fateful mission, and the universe has changed in so many ways no one has ever expected. John Hauser, one of the fated Vihan 2 crew, is now 71 years old and living life on the razor's edge between the harvesters and the worshippers. Think of them as Reavers and not Reavers, if you're a fan of the Fireflyverse. But these rival religious factions clash throughout the galaxy. Jason finds himself thrown into the center of the chaos and forced to confront his tortured past. But the only people who can help Jason have their own secret agenda, one that may bring him face to face with Captain Malik in ways beyond comprehension.
I like that logo design. It's very
great, right?
Eisner reminiscent, but they went a little too forward on dead, so you lose some of the lettering on it.
They always do that. That's kind of their schematic. Written by Al Ewing, art and covers by Simone DeMeo. This is a book that's just gaining and gaining and gaining and gaining and gaining. So hop in now. This is a good place to jump in. You may need to try and go back and read the first trade to get full information, but this is a good place to jump in on. We only find them when they're dead. I have 2 more.
All right.
But this is a shared book that we both have, Dan.
Zenoscope.
Yes. This is
Robin Hood Voodoo Dawn.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know who drew it, but it's Joe Bruce's writing. Dark magic and evil rituals are 2 things Robin's life knows about too well, and this day won't be any different. Something deadly is coming for our favorite vigilante Archer, and Robin's going to be in a fight for her soul when she takes on the mysterious Voodoo Dawn. It's another one.
The cover is Igor Vitorino. Interiors are not mentioned.
Right.
Which is weird.
Dave was explaining it when we had him on the other night. They solicit so far in advance on some of these, and then they really do, because they're such a small company, some of these books are being done at the last minute and just going right to print. And they don't have time to assign an artist when it's being solicited.
Right. And the other part of it, too, is some of these books, like these one-shots that they're doing, it may feature multiple artists. And it's,
Yes.
you know, rather than put up an incomplete list and people yell at you for putting up an incomplete list, better not put up anybody at all and have everyone be surprised. So
when you open the books, there'll be a list of everybody who's worked on it inside.
Absolutely. But this cover, though, so cool.
Yep.
There is an Ian McDonald cover that is also pretty great. Give me a second to pull it up here to load it into the software. Because I think it's the cover I'm going to pick up. The cover I've got is great, but
that's good too.
Yeah, that's the Robin Hood I fell in love with when the Robin Hood series first kicked up over there at Zenescope. That's the look, that's the feel of the covers back then.
Yeah.
All of that kind of stuff. So I love the publication model that Zenescope is doing.
The one shots and small miniseries.
Right, one shot, small minis. They've got so many characters that are not similar, but that share so much of the mythos. That having one shots keeps it easy to remember who you're reading about, easy to follow the stories, and you don't have to invest too heavily to experience everything.
Yep. Very true.
All right. Let me click a couple of things here and bring up The Many Deaths of Layla Starr #2 from Boom Studios. Ram V. Written. As you found out in the first book, death has been made redundant. The god Shiva gets called into the main office and told that her skills are no longer needed because the child has been born who will create immortality. And what do you do if you're a god that no longer has a job? That is the story of Layla Starr. When that god goes back to Earth and becomes a person again, she becomes Layla Starr.
Uber driver, right? Because that seems to be where everybody goes when they get out of work.
Yeah, they work for me. The Avatar of Death now exists in the mortal world as a 20-something Layla Starr after humanity begins the path to discovering immortality. Years pass, and Layla unexpectedly meets the boy who will change everything. At one of the formative moments in his life, Layla must decide what she truly wants from him and how far these revelations will push her.
Snap.
Yeah.
Back to work.
Yeah, it's Ram V, it's Felipe Andrade, and then there is a variant, the B cover by Mike Del Mundo, from Boom Studios. So again, this looks at a little more of that, Hindu gods mythos. You don't see that a lot in Western comic books. Work at the Hindu stories about the Hindu gods.
Right.
But Ram V himself, being from India originally, has that in his. It's part of his culture. It's part of his backstory. It's part of his life. So he tends to draw from those things. It's why so many of his books have that culture in place, because that's his culture and write what you know, right? So that's kind of the deal on Layla Starr. And then my last book this week, if I can get Layla Starr to go away, is Phantom on the Scan #2 from Aftershock Comics. Phantom on the Scan #1 came out just a few weeks ago to pretty high success. It's written by Cullen Bunn, art by Mark Torres, and basically what happens is when the Hale-Bopp comet comes by, or the Halley's Comet comes by Earth, a group of children are born or given psychic abilities, but they start, the more they use them, the more less life they have.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, it drains their existence. So in this issue, we find out they get together and try and find out why their gifts are killing them, and what is the mystery that binds them together? What is the source of their powers, and how is the clandestine Trellix Institute involved? Which you learn what they are. You kind of get an idea of what they are in the first issue. As they pursue the answers to those questions, they discover that they're also being stalked by human killers who have their own set of powers.
Fun.
Yeah, I'm always going to be a fan of Aftershock books. Aftershock tells stories you kind of know already with a twist, but sometimes they get books like this, Phantom on the Scan, that just comes at you from left field because it's Cullen Bunn.
Yeah.
So you got to take advantage of them when you find them, and this is a great story. I was really impressed with number 1. I'm excited to read number 2. I could have read it. They sent me a PDF, but I didn't because I want to pick it up tomorrow at the comic book store and enjoy it for real with the smells and everything. So
nice.
That leaves us. All that's left is DC.
Nope. One more.
What do we got?
Sonyaversal.
Oh, that's right.
Sonyaversal number 4.
I was trying to keep Nick out of this. Okay.
Well, we did do a Nick book earlier with you brought.
Yeah,
up
that's
one.
true. That's true. All right, Sonyaversal. 1 second here. Let me find my notes on it. But go ahead and start talking about it, Dan, and I will get the screen put up here.
All right, this is the 4th issue of the series that is taking Sonya to kind of a cosmic level with Team Sonya as they fly towards the space-based temple, home of the gods of the universe. Thing about gods, though, they're not always on your side. So this is Christopher Hastings and Pasquale Quilano, and this is kind of where the series has been building up to. And I think at the end of the day, Red Sonja and her team are going to have to fight the gods.
Yeah, I don't see that there's any way around it at this point.
Yep.
For them.
Yeah. So it's a fun book series. They're doing a lot of great stuff, but there are so many really cool covers for, like, this one's a Jay Lee cover. There's Joseph Michael Linsner. There's I think a Ben. I mean, just this list of cover artists for it. And
Drew Moss, Vincenzo Federici, Erica Henderson, Lauren Walsh, and Mayara Sampolo do just the Dynamite variants. Now, if there are store exclusives and there are other variants for other places, that adds so much more.
Exactly. So, but this has been a really fun series, and I do, and I talk about this regularly, that Dynamite's really having like a creative renaissance when it comes to Sonya and Vampirella. They're taking these characters in so many different directions. So if one doesn't float your boat, try a different one. So you got Sonyaversal, you got the Red Sonja story, and then you've also got Sonya the Superpowers. So you got those 3 series going on. You now have the Immortals Red Sonja, which is Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor. So you got all these different versions of Red Sonja coming out. And like I said, they're all a lot of fun, but they're all different. So find the one you like or like all of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I choose to like them all. All right. So let's do this, Dan.
Okay.
Let's take a real short break.
Sure.
Real short. Come back and break down. There's some big DC news that we probably should talk about.
Yes.
And talk about our DC books. Let's take a real short break now. We'll come back. We'll do a long segment here at the end and break down all of the things that are happening that we know, and maybe we can even speculate wildly.
Oh, absolutely. I'm good at that.
Yes. But we will be back in just about a second after these words from our sponsors.
There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit ComicShopLocator.com to find a store near you.
What's up, the internet? It's me, it's Kyle. Welcome back to In Stores This Week. I just want to remind you guys that tomorrow is New Comic Book Day. That's why we're doing this. We're not doing this for our health. We're doing this because tomorrow is New Comic Book Day, and you should head over to ComicShopLocator.com to find a store in your area. You just type in your zip code, and it tells you where there are comic book stores that you can go to. And then you should go to them. Doesn't work if you don't. So head over to ComicShopLocator.com, find great stores in your area, and then go to them, buy things. Support small business.
Wait, we're not doing this for our health? Nick told me that working with you raises his blood pressure and gets a kind of a cardio thing going.
It does for Nick. No, it's like I said, we're doing this to tell people what they should be picking up tomorrow at the comic book store. So go to the comic book store. So do we want to break down the news first or talk about the books first?
Why don't we hit the books and then we'll focus on the news?
Okay. So let's start with some not number ones.
Oh, I always try to pick the number ones, but yes, Truth and Justice.
Like Truth and Justice number 4.
Yeah, this has been a great series, and now we've got a new story. A friend from Jason Todd's past is found dead in an alley, and the Red Hood is on the warpath for the killer. But in his pursuit, Jason finds himself facing down his own past and place with the Bat family. Can Jason outrun his demons, or will they drag him back to the grave? This has been a fun series where each issue has been a different star. We had Vixen, we had John Constantine, and here we get Jeff Trammell and Rob Guillory.
Mm-hmm.
Chew. It is Chew, right? He was on?
Yes.
Yeah. So good, cool series, and I thought they were doing. Originally, I thought they were doing minority characters, but then they do Constantine and Jason Todd. So I'm not sure what the thing is, but it's a good-looking book. And it's a good series.
Mean, so we were 4 issues in, and we've had Vixen, Superman, Constantine, and Jason Todd. Volume 5 will feature Batwoman, and number 6 will feature Damian Wayne.
Damian Wayne.
Yeah, he's the worst.
Yeah.
Why didn't they kill him? No, they had to kill Jason Todd.
Yeah.
Phones. But there is a Stan Green variant cover that's very cool. That I want to share with people on this book. The B cover here, again, it's by Sanford Green. I'm loading it. It's loading. It's loading. It's loading. It's here.
Oh, that is a very cool cover. I didn't see that one in solicitations. That is very cool. We'll have to probably grab that one.
Yeah, I'm thinking so. It's kind of got a Jacques feel to it in a way.
It does.
So I'm pretty happy with that. Moving on from there, another not number one from DC this week is a number 80, a.k.a. Nightwing number 80.
I thought if we're giving Jason Todd some love, we should give Dick Grayson some love. This is Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo. And it says, Dick Grayson's always had a big heart, from protecting those persecuted by bullies in his youth to combating evil alongside Batman as Robin, to pledging his newly inherited wealth to enriching Bloodhaven as Nightwing. His kindness and generosity has always guided his life, but now a new villain stalks the back alleys of Bloodhaven, removing the hearts of the city's most vulnerable. Who is this terrifying new menace named Heartless? And will he be able to resist plucking out the biggest heart in all of Bloodhaven?
Read this literally heart-wrenching issue to find out.
Yeah, I didn't want to read that part of it, jeez.
I did. That's my favorite part. No, so here's the thing, guys. As you're reading this story, it becomes very clear that we're not certain that it isn't Nightwing who is heartless. There is enough doubt that it's somebody else that you begin to question, maybe is Nightwing the problem? How do we help Nightwing? What can we do? So it's a very interesting look at that. But also, it's more of that Bloodhaven story, which is where Nightwing, he's the Batman of Bloodhaven.
Exactly.
So how does that work, right? You're the lead hero, but also maybe you're the bad guy. Are you a Billie Eilish song? You don't know. So it's a great feel. Tom Taylor's crushing it. The B cover is by Jamal Campbell, and it's worth looking up. The B cover as well. I don't have it loaded, but it's worth checking out. Not quite as cool as the last B cover, though.
I like Nightwing a lot, and I love the fact that he has his own city. One of the things I love about the DC universe are the made-up cities. That way anything can happen in there. When you're in Marvel Universe and everything is in New York, you have to take into account what's going on in the city in the real world, because it's the real city. With, it's Gotham, it's Central City, it's Coast City, it's Metropolis, it's Bloodhaven. And I like that Robin grew up into Nightwing and got his own city. So now he just needs his own cast of villains, and they've been building them. So maybe Heartless will be another good villain for him.
Right, or maybe he's just got some schizophrenia.
Could be.
Read it and find out. We have another not. Yeah. We have another not number one, which is Superman Red and Blue number 3.
These are just fun series. I mean,
yes.
The idea.
Look at that cover.
Series, yeah, they're focused on the individual characters and the art, and it's five more stories told in art styles that pay tribute to his primary colors. Here we have both everything from Smallville to Fortress of Solitude. We look at an object that was important to Superman on his trip to Earth. We see the lasting impact that he has on those around him, plus punching. Someone has to take down the organic intelligence they call Kilgore. But even he's nothing compared to the massive monster waiting in the farthest reaches of space. So you get 5 different Superman stories by 5 different creative teams,
including Nick Spencer and Christian Ward, Steve Siegel and Duncan Rouleau, Jesse Holland and Laura Braga, and then James Stocco wrote and drew his own, as did Michael Fife. Your cover artist on the A cover is Paul Pope. You have John Paul Leone, Derek Chu variants.
You got Paul Pope's Superman punching out Brainiac.
Yeah.
That's just awesome.
Paul Pope is great. I love Battling Boy.
Yeah.
I love Paul Pope stuff.
He's very unique, and I like that. I like when you put up a piece of art and you can tell exactly who the artist is. That's cool.
Okay. We have 2 number 1s from DC.
Yes, we do.
The first one we'll do is this one, Wonder Girl.
Yep. Jolie Jones. The story of Yara Flor starts here, raised in the far-off land of Boise, Idaho. Yara Flor has always felt something was missing in her life. Now she's headed to Brazil to find it. Little does she know, her arrival will set off a series of events that will change the world of Wonder Woman forever. Her return has been prophesied, and with the prophecy comes the undivided attention of a malevolent god from pantheons beyond. Danger lurks around every corner, but in this young hero ready for this journey, find out in the debut issue with absolutely cannot miss spinning out of the best-selling Future State Wonder Woman with acclaimed writer-artist Jolie Jones makes a triumphant return.
Joelle.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay. Joelle. Okay. Well, now you threw me off my track, but so
It's
this
Joelle
is picking
Jones,
up.
written and art,
Mhm.
colors by Jordi Belair.
And it picks up
Yeah,
from
and
the
she-
Future State.
Yes, and so this is bringing Future State into the actual DCU, which is super fun. And I'm sorry for taking you off of your thing, but I'm like, I think you said it wrong the first time, and I'm going. I'll wait and see if he does. I'll wait and see if I'm just losing my mind or having a stroke. So,
Hey,
but listen to this.
You see names in print. It's hard to.
Yeah, no,
hear.
it's true. It's true. But listen to this Murderer's Row of variant cover artists. So you ready? Raphael Grampa,
Nice.
J. Scott Campbell, Bilquis Elevy, Kendrick Lim, Carla Cohen.
Nice.
Like, that is an absolute Murderer's Row of cover artists.
Yeah. I really dig Raphael Grandpa's style. So
It's true. I do as well. It's great that we live in an era where we can read Berserker and get nothing but his style. But yeah, I'm excited for this book. This was one that was on my list. Joelle Jones, you may know from her Catwoman run. That was absolutely phenomenal. That came out around Batman 50. And other things, but she writes and draws and does covers and everything by herself. And that creates a very tight universe because she's not having to explain stuff to somebody else.
right.
She writes it and has the vision for it and executes it. So any stories she's done have been very tight and very well thought out. So
Cool.
last but not least, and in this case, last but not last, Legends of the Dark Knight.
Yes.
This is a one-shot. Am I right?
No, this is a new series, but the first issue is Derek Robertson. Then will be Stephanie Phillips, Brandon Thomas, Becky Cloonan, Matt Rosenberg, Brandon Easton, Cian Torme, Giannis Milano, Carla Mosiot, and many more. So it's a new, I think it's a new ongoing.
Okay.
But the idea, there used to be a Legends of the Dark Knight series. They put out some of the best Batman stories. They just seem to be a little edgier. And here we get Derek Robertson both writing and doing the art. It says the iconic series Legends of the Dark Knight is back. Comic icons and rising stars alike will tell digital-first stories across the Batman mythos, beginning with comics legend and co-creator of The Boys, Derek Robertson, writing and drawing an epic 3-issue supervillain crime drama. So this is going to be 3 issues. A new player has arrived on the scene in Gotham and is selling deadly chemicals to the worst villains in town. Mr. Freeze, the Penguin, and even the Joker. It's up to Batman to stop the villain, track down the supplier, and save Gotham once more. this is gonna be big. You know, Derek Robertson is The Boys. It's also Transmetropolitan. The guy is phenomenal. He doesn't do a whole lot of interior work since The Boys. So here we get a 3-issue Batman story from him, starting with this issue. You get Batman, you get Freeze, you get Joker, and Penguin. It sounds like a great deal to me. Plus, Legends of the Dark Knight was such a classic series back then. The fact they're bringing it back, just all good vibes there.
Absolutely. There's really not more that I can bring to this except for to tell you that there are variants from Francisco Francvilla, Jason Fabuk, David Marquez, Warren Lau, and Riccardo Federici.
Yeah, those are all good to look at least. Warren Lau's got some really good style. He's kind of following that Art Germ style. You know, not saying that's the same style, but that posing look thing. And I'm curious to see what his, I didn't get a chance to look up his, but.
Yeah, no, I'm, you know, it's a series that's interesting to me, but one of the things I'm hearing from people is, do we really need another Batman series? And the thing that I would put on this is that it's not really a Batman series, it's a villain series. You know, so make sure you check it out, not as a Batman story, but as a story of the people who are around Batman causing problems for Batman.
Yep.
I will say this, though. There's a 1 in 25 Riccardo Federici variant that I'm in love with. I'll have to see if I can find that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
all right. So now
there has been major DC news,
right,
in the last couple of days, but I need to step away for just a second.
I'll explain.
You explain what's happening, and then we'll speculate wildly when I return.
Okay. So AT&T, about 5 years ago, decided to spend a bunch of money. They bought Warner Media, and they bought DirecTV. And both of them have turned out not to be the money makers they thought they were. So they sold off DirecTV recently as a loss, and they just sold off Warner Media to Discovery. Now, the deal has to do with basically they bought it for 80 some odd million, a billion, and they sold it for 43. They lost a ton of money. Billion or million, not sure on that. But they lost a ton of money. They lost over half the money they spent on it. But they felt like they had to get out. And I kind of think that's a good idea. How this trickles down, of course, is that Warner Media and Discovery, they aren't going to basically move Warner Media under Discovery. They're going to merge the two into a new company. Maybe Warner Discovery or something that'll make sense. But they've got to merge together the creative teams. Not the creative teams, but the corporate heads. Discovery just re-upped their guy, Zaslav, to a extended contract. He was under contract to be CEO of Discovery until 2023. They just extended him to 2027. So I have a feeling that whoever is currently running Warner Media can expect, well, one guy has already said he's not staying, but they can expect to be looking around. The key is, how is this going to affect Warner Brothers and Disney? Not Disney, DC Comics. Warner Brothers, of course, for the movies like the upcoming Shazam and Suicide Squad and all of that. HBO Max. HBO Max has not been doing as well as they wanted it to. They're not getting the subscriptions that they wanted, where Discovery started Discovery Plus, and they've already got over 1.5 million subscribers, and they're growing. So I think it makes sense for AT&T to leave the entertainment field, focus on tech and phone service like they are good at, let Discovery do what they do, which is, in a lot of ways, Discovery is known for being similar in belief to the current regime at Disney, which is starting to leave. But they let the creators be the driving force. So I'm hoping that'll continue, and that might actually improve things. Just think about what's happened in the last 5 years since AT&T bought Warner. You've got stuff like Zack Snyder having to step away from Justice League, then replacing him with Joss Whedon, then it coming out and bombing, them not giving Whedon any extra time to make the movie, but they still wanted all these rewrites. Then bringing Snyder back for the Snyder Cut, but then they're going through people like crazy on turnover-wise. Also, how is this going to trickle down into the comics? How is this going to affect the current editorial staff, the current hierarchy at DC Comics, and what will that mean for the books? And we welcome back Kyle.
Well, I really AT&T made it perfectly clear from day one they didn't want to be in the publishing business. They just wanted the intellectual property.
Right.
But now it's looking like AT&T wants to get out of the intellectual property business and get into the other areas. But the thing about it is it's not, from my understanding, they're not necessarily selling DC or Warner Media. They're merging it with another company in which they own.
No. Okay. This is what the confusion's been.
Mm-hmm.
AT&T outright sold Warner Media to Discovery. But Discovery is not going to just move them under the Discovery banner. They're going to merge Warner Media that they just bought with Discovery and make it a new company.
But AT&T has ownership stake in the new company.
AT&T shareholders will have 71% of the shares of the new company, and Discovery shareholders will have the other 29%. AT&T won't own anything, AT&T itself. The shareholders will get some of the shares of the new company. But just because you own shares in a company doesn't make you an owner of the company.
If enough AT&T shareholders own,
they
own the majority of it, that gives them voting power. It's all of this kind of thing. Like, so to say that AT&T doesn't own this is technically true, but it's also not the whole picture of the way the structure works. So it's the same people are voting on both boards. It's the same ownership.
Not necessarily.
It's if I own my company and I have voting rights on another company, I'm in the ownership of that company.
Right.
So
but just because you're a shareholder doesn't mean you have voting rights. And it depends on how much that's split over.
Right. So I'm looking for the FTC filing.
By the way, this is going to take at least a year to sort out and to push through. So nothing's going to happen over the next year.
Yeah, it's not on the front page of the FTC site anymore. Which it was yesterday. Everything on the front page of the FTC site today is about how they're not going to let 7-Eleven buy Speedway. Which is a whole other demon. Anyhow, regardless, I think it's important to note that I think it's important for people to know that if 71% of the stock in this new company is owned by people who own stock in AT&T, that you're going to see similarities in the way things are thought about, but that doesn't necessarily mean similarities in the way things are run. It's important to know that Discovery has more of an interest in the publishing has more of an interest in the intellectual property, has more of an interest in keeping DC Comics around, but they are probably not in a position to capitalize on it as fast as AT&T was.
I don't know about that. Discovery launched their streaming service, and it's growing faster than most of the other ones. They're already at 1.5 million subscribers.
Right. I'm talking about in terms of media. So they may not be able to take current IP and turn it into product, like in terms of new movies, new TV shows, the way AT&T was, which is they got Warner Media, and Doom Patrol came out really fast after.
Yeah.
It may take a little bit longer for Discovery to figure out how they're going to release things, how you know what I mean, that kind of stuff. In terms of when I say capitalize, I mean you're not going to see the joke I've been making is the Deadliest Catch meets Aquaman.
Yeah.
You're not going to see that.
No.
One, because it's a terrible idea, but two, because it's going to take them forever to figure out how to make that.
Well, I don't know why you're still bringing all of Warner Media. So you're bringing the people that make the movies and make the stuff, and you're bringing HBO. So you're bringing HBO Max. So you've got one venue there. You've got HBO Max and you've got Discovery Plus. So you've got two streaming services. You still have your distribution deals as Warner Brothers. So I don't know if I necessarily agree that it's going to slow them down that much. Now, they might not have the capital to fund this stuff.
And that I think that'll be part of it. But like I said, my thing is they're going to want to put their own stamp on it a little bit. Yeah. So we're going to release it instead of direct to movie theaters and HBO Max. We're going to release it to Discovery Plus or whatever we're calling it first. They're gonna come up with their way, and that's what I mean by it's AT&T already had the infrastructure to, this thing is done and sitting in the cradle at Warner. Here's how we're gonna drop it. We're gonna drop it direct on DirecTV, on demand, and in theaters. Perfect. Yeah. Discovery is gonna have to figure that out. Like, what do they want it to look like?
Well, other than DirecTV, they have that infrastructure coming with it. HBO Max and all that stuff. The only thing they didn't get is DirecTV, which Warner Brothers sold off a little while ago.
Right. Well, the other interesting thing I'm wondering about though is that Discovery owns A&E. They own some of these other networks that have had original non-reality programming in the past.
Uh-huh.
A&E, had Longmire, which was a wildly successful show, so successful that Netflix bought it and gave it 3 more seasons. Do you think that rather than release things direct to HBO, or that you might start to see some of these things cross over onto networks like A&E, where they can run a Pawn Stars rerun or a Storage Wars rerun, or they could maybe run a Doom Patrol episode?
I think the people at Discovery are smart enough that they know things have homes. Things have places they belong. You don't, yeah. So I think that the fact that they're getting HBO Max with it, they're going to keep those things to HBO Max. The only thing I could see them doing is creating a bundle where you get HBO Max and Discovery Plus together to increase viewership.
But I'm talking about over-the-air cable, traditional cable.
Right. I don't think they will.
You'll start to see, or it's one of the great things about like they have on A&E is they'll run Storage Wars reruns all day.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now maybe they can drop something else in there to get some midday viewers. It's all of a sudden, hey, there's Shazam. Or something like that.
But I think the trend right now is to get away from putting things on network TV. That's why we're seeing these shows. Just this morning on my earlier show, I covered The Lost Symbol, which is going to be a new series based on Dan Brown's Robert Langdon character. You've got Ron Howard and Brian Glazier coming in to produce it, but it's going straight to Peacock. Now, not that there's not a lot of stuff on Peacock yet, but they could have put it on, NBC first and then drop it on Peacock or one of NBC Universal's other channels, but they're going straight to Peacock. CBS is doing the same thing with a lot of their shows, their Star Trek stuff. You could put a Star Trek show on one of their networks and it would get a lot of attention. What they want is the streaming money because we're now entering the streaming wars. I think the days of big shows going right to the networks are going to get smaller and smaller, and I think
there's a model though to buck that. And here's what I mean by that is it's Peacock and NBC just signed a colossal deal with WWE to move WWE Network to Peacock.
Right.
What happens immediately following that? You get the announcement that on A&E, which is a Discovery platform, you're going to get biographies of WWE wrestlers and this show that's essentially Pawn Stars with WWE wrestlers. Finding their gear and finding their greatest memorabilia. And that is simultaneously available both places. So yes. I think what you're going to see is you're going to see the development of a model that says, yeah, we want to go straight to streaming, but also here's a way to remind people that aren't cord cutters, who aren't specifically streamers, that we're creating content.
Right. But you've also got to keep in mind the cost. You can do a reality show at pennies on the dollar for some of these big budget series. So I could see them doing more reality shows and putting them on and tying them. Maybe they do a documentary series on comic book artists or comic book writers.
What was the name of that series that came out along with the Mandalorian? That was the behind the scenes, huh?
The gallery.
Yeah, something like that, direct to one of their networks.
Yeah. While
the show is released. That's what I'm saying, though, is do you see the two things playing hand in hand, or do you see them being separate?
I think Discovery knows what their audiences want and can figure out how to tie them together. Maybe you get a reality show about, new artists breaking in the industry and kind of like a Cake Boss thing, but with comic stuff. I could see them playing with that and using the DC characters in that show. Do I think they'll make original programming? No. But then, they've got this great list of franchises at Warner Brothers. Besides the DC stuff, Harry Potter, you could do a lot of things with Harry Potter, both live, reality or non-scripted and scripted. Lego, Godzilla, The Matrix, which is going to be coming with a new movie. And you've got the horror franchises of Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, and Mad Max.
Yeah. One of the things I'm particularly interested in with this, and it's not got anything really to do with our topic of conversation, but my cable is AT&T TV. I get HBO Max for free.
For now.
Because I pay for AT&T TV.
Right.
Did that move? How is that going to work, right? Like,
I bet you you're probably on a contract, and then that'll disappear. Just like I have AT&T phone service. My cell is through AT&T, and they offer you free HBO Max. I never took them up on it because I had it from another source. But right. I have a feeling that's going to fade away too.
Well, or is it, hey, AT&T TV subscribers, we're changing the branding. It's going to look like this now. Instead of getting HBO Max, you get them both, with your, because we're not really getting it for free.
Yeah.
It's wrapped up in the cost of the service.
Yeah, I wonder if AT&T Television sold with it. Did that go with Warner?
Yeah, I mean, that's why that FTC filing matters so much, right? And that's what, I had a friend call me the second the news dropped and wanted to talk to me about it. I'm like, dude, we could speculate, but we're not really covering anything with any kind of facts. We're just talking about what we think might happen. And he goes, well, why? I go, because we haven't seen the FTC filing.
Yeah.
We haven't seen what they told the government to prove that this isn't some kind of monopolization. Mm-hmm. We just haven't seen it. So until we know exactly what everything was in the package, because my first thought was, well, AT&T could have held on to DC and tried to sell them to Disney or somebody else for more money than they would have gotten wrapping it in with the Warner Media package. Like,
I think that would
we know that now isn't true, but
yeah, I think they'd have a hard time. I get the feeling that AT&T just wanted to get out. Mm-hmm. This deal happened so fast. And the DirecTV deal as well. I think AT&T is about to go through a major shakeup. Mm-hmm. And they needed to offload and get some of their money back. They lost about half of their money on both of these deals. And they're willing to walk away.
Billions and billions of dollars. Tens of billions of dollars lost.
Yeah. My brother was married, got divorced, and literally just walked away from the house. Told her, you can have the house, you can have everything in it. I took what I wanted, I'm gone. That's it. That's everything else is yours. The marriage had gotten that bad that it was just walk away. And that's how I see what AT&T did here, is I think they've just lost so much money. And I don't think they knew what the hell they were doing. And I think we've seen that over the last 5 years of decisions from Warner, everything from what happened with Snyder to the whole announcement of, we're going to put movies straight on to HBO Max. And the creators of the movies went, wait, what? Mm-hmm. I think they got
that's true.
Untenable, and they had to step away.
Right, and I wonder, had the pandemic not happened, would we be in this situation? Like, there's so much that I want that we're not going to know until all the ifs and buts come out.
Yeah.
Until all the tea gets spilled, as it were, and until we know that, we don't really know what we're facing as an industry.
Right.
What we're facing is people who enjoy entertainment, because until all of that stuff hits the fan, maybe nothing changes. Maybe everything changes. Maybe it all goes away. There's no way in knowing until there's no way in until it's happening.
Yeah. I think we'll still get comics. I don't think they'll ever be, won't be anytime soon that we stop getting Batman and Superman comics. Will we get Wonder Girl and some of these more obscure titles? Maybe not.
Probably not.
That may be the axe point. I don't know. They may just start looking and go, okay, what is guaranteed seller? Give me 10 Batman books instead of these other weird ones.
Well, and one of the things, and we're out of time, but we'll go a little long tonight since we're in the middle of this. One of the things that I think, and I've been saying this for a while, that there is a twofold thing that needs to happen at DC. One, they need to publish less, but it's got to be better. Yeah. DC sometimes gets into these traps where they're publishing a lot of books at a time. And those books aren't always the highest quality books. Whereas a company like Boom Studios or Valiant, even to a greater extent than them, publish very few high quality books.
Yep.
But the other side to that, and this is what I wanted to say, is I think DC could serve themselves well to take some titles and leave them as they are and move some other titles to a manga style release. A bigger book, so 100-page book once a quarter.
Okay.
Rather than that's what I mean by a manga style. A bigger book, a little bit slower. So you've got more time to develop it and that kind of stuff to work it out.
Like
Tell a bigger story. Yeah. More sense. I would say more of a prestige style book than a floppy.
I think Discovery has to look and say, we've got all these superhero characters. People want to see them. What did Marvel do? Oh, yeah, they got a guy with a singular vision and voice, and he led them. We have to get that guy. We have to get on track and make these things make sense and not just willy-nilly, oh, we got this Batman here, and we got a Joker movie that doesn't tie into anything else, and then we got this going on over here, and we're gonna bring in a black Superman, but we also don't know what we're doing with Henry Cavill. And Warner Brothers and what they're doing with the DC universe has been an absolute mess. And they need someone to straighten it out. And I got time if they want.
Right. I vote for Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs.
I was thinking Guy Fieri, but I like Mike Rowe. That's a bad idea.
It's going to be a dirty job. So
true.
Also, Dan, you can write The Deadliest Catch meets Aquaman.
I would be all over that. So,
all right.
There was a Deadliest Catch for a while.
Hmm?
There was a Deadliest Catch comic. No. Shark Week. There was Shark Week.
Yeah, Shark Week. Right. Oh, Shark Week's going to be crazy now. Like you put DC on Shark Week, all the King Shark books.
Oh yeah, Sylvester Stallone doing voiceovers.
No, it'll be Ron Funches who does it for the cartoon.
Even better.
Yes, absolutely. So, what are your thoughts about Marvel and DC licensing characters, indie creators? Why do they not do that? Non-canon stories, good percentage of the profit.
Because it doesn't work.
Well, but it doesn't work unless you do it correctly, like Marvel has done with IDW.
I look back to when they let Rob Liefeld and Jim Lee relaunch Captain America, Fantastic Four, and those two other books. I think it was Iron Man and Thor or something. And they were horrible.
Right. So the licensing has to go to a company that plays in the same league as Marvel. So IDW plays in the same league. They have this, they can punch up a little bit, as it were, to use a boxing metaphor. And so it's worked there, as IDW Marvel crossovers. And a lot of those guys are independent guys who are writing those books. They're guys who work for IDW primarily. So it can work, but it just has to be done just so. Otherwise, it winds up failing like those books did. And to be honest, this was the other big conversation I had with my friend about how important is canon. You don't want to tell a non-canon story and confuse existing canon.
Right. For fans, canon's huge in any fandom. Star Trek, Outlander, any fandom you bring up, canon is crucial because it's what brings the fandom together. It's those shared stories. It's not just a collection of random stories about, Batman. It's part of how it's all connected. That's what brings people in.
Well, so he says they seem to piss canon away often anyways. And that there's a level of that's true. But Superman's canon really hasn't changed that much.
Right.
Over the history. Like, there are things in those universes that are as inevitable as Thanos. There are things that are immovable, and then there are things that are flexible. So Superman Red Sun is an example of, it's still the base. Superman doesn't really change, just the circumstances of Superman change. Captain America becoming Nomad, he's still Captain America, just the circumstances of Captain America have changed.
Yeah, like Spider-Man, you're already getting rid of that new suit.
Right, and then what happens is the canon stays the same. It's just this is a story that's in that canon that's maybe over here. Or they do on occasion do what they did to Star Wars, which is erase a whole bunch of canon.
Mhm.
But part of having to do that is reining in things that sometimes get too big. The Star Wars Extended Universe and the Star Wars Legends now were so unwieldy that it would have been really hard for Disney and Marvel to refocus and come down to a point where they could kick off something had they let all of that stuff exist.
And the other problem is, at least in my opinion, a lot of writers nowadays substitute change for story. If, you know, I always refer to it as toys in a toy box. If you go work for Marvel, you're playing with their toys. And when you're done, you put them back in the toy box the way you got them. But a lot of them now, it's like, oh no, I've got a new variation of Batman. He's an ice uniform, or he's ice armor. And it's that they try to change things to bring drama to a story. And a good storyteller, a good writer, should be able to tell a story in the existing universe. Every time they say every story's been done and they go for these big changes, it's like, no. You just got to figure out what makes that character tick and tell a story within it.
One of the prime examples I gave is Dan Slott's Spider-Man. So when Dan started Spider-Man, he didn't just start with something different. He told stories with the Spider-Man that his predecessors had told. You know, he didn't just come in and say, I'm going to screw with Spider-Man. He told stories that were in the vein of Stan stories, were in the vein of JMS, were in the vein of all of these guys who had come before him telling Spider-Man stories. And he made small and subtle changes to Spider-Man so that when he dropped his big changes, it didn't seem like he was just going out of left field. It was, you've been working towards this. This is character progression.
Yeah.
And so I think that's part of it too, is that, you know, you can't wholesale change a character just because you want to.
Right.
You have to do the work to get to that point, especially with characters that now we're talking about DC that have 1,000+ issue backstories.
Mm-hmm.
The Flash is coming up on 1,000. You've got Superman and Batman are to 1,000. Wonder Woman got to be damn close.
Yeah.
So
look at Superman, how people lost their mind when suddenly it was Superman Blue and Superman Red. It's like nobody wanted that. They wanted Superman.
Look at how much people lost their mind when Brian Michael Bendis took over Superman and just changed small little idiosyncratic things about him. And people are like, no, I'm done reading Superman forever now.
Yep.
So, all right, we've gone way along here. So, Dan and I may be back later this week to talk about this. We'll see what we can do. Dig into this some more because this is a good topic, and I think people want to talk about it. So, but for now, go to comicshoplocator.com, type in your zip code, find a comic shop in your area. Thank you, JD Smith. JD, hop over to Facebook, and I think it's JD Smith Digi Artist. Send us some of your stuff, man. You know, we'd love to shout you out on some stuff. So send us like links to stuff. But we will be back next week for in stores this week. Head into your local comic book shop and buy some stuff. And in the meantime, tune into the Dan Wickline Show and all the other great programming we have here on The Experience. Dan is here 3 days, well, technically 4 days a week now. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays with the Dan Wickline Show, and on Saturdays with Boop Goes the Writers. I'm gonna recut your opener with the pop-up video music in it, just for our own amusement.
That's fine.
All right, guys, we'll see you next time.
Night, everybody.
Where's the thing I gotta click on? Here it is.